Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared.
Gracias for coming hack to me, Fright fans. This is Jaime En Fuego, and you are on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, where I cover the hottest entertainment with an edge, and this is another installment of the Fright-tastic special presentation that I am doing for the month of October. There are 93 episodes of Tales from the Crypt. There are 31 days in the month of October, so it made perfect sense for me to cover 3 episodes a day through the entire duration of October, and basically denote them as the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo. Yes, that's right. And it has been a wonderful excursion thus far, recalling the Danny Elfman theme, seeing so many hilarious little send-ups from Mr. John Kassir, who we got to talk to on the Horror Show channel just earlier this year. And we're in the middle of the 3rd season right now, as far as my start to stop has gone. And this is the 2nd time in the entire duration of all of my reviews where I can't figure out which one is best. I can't figure out which one should get the proper distinction. Yes, I saw all of these as a kid, and I loved all of them as a kid. So, yeah, kind of throws a monkey wrench in my decision making, but it is something that I am certain I can do, and I think the ending distinctions that you are going to see here, while I enjoy all of these episodes, they will really just be befitting. So let's jump right into the Bueno! And this one originally appeared in the pages of Tales from the Crypt number 37. However, it was entitled Dead Right back then, and for this one, it has a much more interesting title, at least for me, called Abra-Cadaver! Yeah, that's right. Abra-Cadaver was very cool in the fact that you got this guy Tony Goldwyn, who you probably will recognize as the villain from Ghost, and he is currently he's like on Scandal, some show that everybody has told me is good about White House scandals, but nah, it's a current television series, and I don't really watch a lot of television, so. And he actually made his silver screen debut in Friday the 13th, number 6. Yeah, that's right, Jason Lives, where they got away from that stupid ambulance, whatever stuff. And man, was I glad when they actually made Jason, like, supernatural, finally. But this episode, once again, you're wondering, is it supernatural? Is it not? Because Beau Bridges and Tony Goldwyn are brothers, and we all know Beau Bridges is a much bigger star than Mr. Tony here. You know, he has multiple Emmys, multiple Golden Globes, he's Screen Actors Guild Awards, his hands are on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, that's right, he's a little bit bigger than this other dude. But they're basically brothers, and Beau's a little bit older, and Tony's character likes to play jokes on him. And there is one which takes place in black and white as a flashback scene at the very beginning that kind of lays the groundwork for what happens in the 2nd act and in the main portion of the film. Basically, it flashes forward, and the younger kid, Tony, no longer has this ridiculous mullet going on, his hair is cut, and he's actually gotten through medical school, because they've both been going through medical school when you first see them. And Beau is kind of disabled and a little bit just off his rocker, maybe, but he's trying to develop this formula where he can kind of numb people out and like keep their brain activity going after they die a little bit longer. It's like kind of got a voodoo slant and stuff. And interesting thing is, this was actually directed by Stephen Hopkins, who is originally from Jamaica, directed the 5th Nightmare on Elm Street film. Yeesh. It wasn't as bad as Freddy's Dead, but still pretty bad, man, compared to Dream Warriors and, the Dream Master. But then he also did Predator 2, which I thought in a lot of ways maybe was better than the original Predator. I know it's blasphemy, but I love Predator 2. I love seeing that skull in the trophy case and stuff. And I love the casting. You know, you get your Bill Paxton is in, the second Aliens film. But anyway, I digress. He also did the Ghost in the Darkness, which is an amazing film, but his brother plays a trick on him, and we're not really going to say exactly what it is, but it deals with this serum that he's been testing, and dude gets, he's in a state where you kind of are uncertain as to what's going to happen to him. So we're just going to leave it at that. This is sadly one of those that I chose it as the Bueno because it's my favorite after rewatching these of the three, but there are a ton of twists in this. In fact, there's twist after twist after twist after twist. And this is an Oliver twist. This is like horrific twist. And it is a tremendous episode. It's well shot. It's well acted. It's pretty much, there's a lot of that dark humor that we love so much about Tales from the Crypt. So yeah, this might be my favorite thus far of the third season. So, the Malo, it's not really that Malo, as I think I described a couple episodes ago. This is a solid episode, but it's not an incredible episode. It is nowhere near as good as the other two here. It's called Top Billing, and it originates from the Vault of Horror number 39, and it's got a very young Jon Lovitz in it. Jon Lovitz was really, at this point in 1991, most known from all of his work on, Saturday Night Live, which he, has become iconic at this point. However, he's not really playing a funny character at all in this. This is a very serious turn, and all the funny people are like around him. You see like a face here or a face there and stuff like that. The original Gomez from the original Addams Family is in it. I mean, there's a lot of familiar faces, Sandra Bernhardt, but he's like this obsessive actor who is washed up and trying his damnedest to find a new role, and he decides that he's going to go, just as opposed to silly TV or movie or whatever, he is going to go professional and theatrical, and he wants to try out for this version of Hamlet that's being done at a production company or at a theater of sorts that he has heard nothing about, and everyone's like, yeah, that's in a rough side of town, like why the heck would you want to go to that? It's directed by a guy named Todd Holland, who directed stuff like The Wizard and Krippendorf's Tribe, and yeah, nothing scary whatsoever, but he actually made much more of a dent with his television work. Like, he won multiple Emmys for Malcolm in the Middle, The Larry Sanders Show, also developed a number of other stuff, so I guess it makes sense to have a comedically driven director with a guy like Jon Lovitz behind it, but yeah, it just, not a bad episode, as I mentioned, and the twist is great. It is one of the best twists I've ever seen on this show, and it's one that really stuck with me, and as I was rewatching it for the first time in maybe 15 or 20 years, I was just like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is really good, and I was just awaiting it because it's one of the best that they ever had as far as a turn at the end of the show in the entire series. So maybe some people could have pre-scripted it or, just seen the forewarning coming, but I thought it was one of the best. But unfortunately, even though it's an episode I enjoy and that I like, yeah, Top Billing is the Malo. It is the not as good episode. I guess that's a better way. It's like less bueno. So yeah. And then to jump to our final installment here. That's right, this is in fact, the 10th installment here of my Tales from the Crypt coverage. It is going to an episode that I thought was going to be my bueno. I thought that it was going to be my absolute tops, and it's called Dead Weight, and it has a guy named James Remar, who you've probably seen in tons and tons of different films. He's had lots of bit roles over the years. He was possibly most memorably recalled for his role in The Warriors, which is a big time cult classic. Walter Hill, another guy who directed Tales from the Crypt episodes, but I always remember him being in Lover's Vow, which was the third installment in Tales from the Dark Side, which pretty much everybody knows the Tales from the Dark Side movie was the third Creep show, and also on top of that, it was inspired by all those EC comics that the Tales from the Crypt show was, inspired by, and actually taking all of its source material from. So, yeah, but James Remar is basically he's kind of a con man, thief, killer, whatever you want to classify him as, and he gets involved with John Rhys Davies, who most of you will remember as Indy's Arabian homie in the first and the third Indiana Jones films. Great character, one that I loved and just thought was so awesome, man. But he was also in the Lord of the Rings films, and a lot of people remember him from that. But I think the biggest name actually attached to this particular episode is Mr. Tobe Hooper directing. Yeah, that's right. He did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, wrote and directed it, which many consider to be one of the most influential and important films in all of horror. He basically was the slasher movie way before Friday the 13th and Freddy and Michael and Chucky and all these different people, man. Then he went on to direct stuff like Poltergeist and goodness, the list just goes on and on and on, and he directed this episode. So therefore, remembering it very well, remembering some of the plot turns, remembering some of the story devices, I thought that it was going to be amazing and blow my mind. However, I ended up liking Abra-Cadaver better. Yeah, and that's not to slight this film, so, Mr. Redheaded dude, that they all start calling him Red throughout. He's on this plantation and he's masquerading, helping out John Rhys Davies, saying he's, wanting to actually assist him on this plantation, but he has ulterior motives. There's a black pearl involved, and there's theft involved, and, there's a cheating wife involved, and many tropes that we've seen numerous times on Tales from the Crypt, man. I mean, seriously, but the twist is great in this. The blood is really Feo once it finally starts coming, and once the bloodletting is there, it kind of just keeps rolling. So yeah, it definitely entitles the Feo for the sheer fact that the ugly part is I thought it was going to be as bueno as I remembered it, and it didn't quite live up to my expectations. Whereas Abra-Cadaver, I remembered as being good but not amazing, and yet at the end of the day, I was like, wow, that was a very well-crafted with tons of twists and turns, whereas, the narrative is pretty just straight up on this one. So, Deadweight is good. It's not bad. It's definitely way more Feo, probably, than the other two episodes, and so that's why I have to talk about it, and, I have to at least mention another Feo is that there's a particular sit-down with an actress who's in it at the very end that I thought Schwarzenegger's cameo was cheesy, man. This one was hella cheesy, but I guess it just showed the acclaim that Tales from the Crypt was starting to receive, and it actually wasn't until that very final frame when I saw who was sitting down talking to the Crypt Keeper that I decided who was going to be the Feo, who was going to be the ugly. So, nothing against this actress because she is amazing, even in this role, and in lots of other stuff she's done, but the way that they just purposefully plugged it, and, I don't know, I'm just not... I like Tales from the Crypt sticking just to the storyline, and it was when they started really just reveling in their newfound fame and how much people started to love the show. It was almost like when Freddy became too silly. I don't know. That's just personal opinion. So, in any event, I will leave you on Deadweight as my Feo, but still recommend that it is an awesome episode of Tales from the Crypt. All three of these are awesome. Top Billing, Deadweight, Abra-Cadaver, they are all fantastic episodes. I just had to kind of criteria them and give them some designation, but please watch all three, because all three were favorites when I was a child. So, I extend a grande gracias, fright fans. That's right, all of my horror-tastic and fear friends that have been checking out this with me. I really am so very appreciative of it. You can find me, Jaime En Fuego, at Jaime En Fuego. Yes, that's right. It's spelled similar to Jamie, but it's not exactly. You can see it right below. It's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that I reside, and obviously here on YouTube. And then also make sure to check me out at thehorrorshowchannel.com. That's where I do the predominance of my horror coverage with all of my different co-hosts that are, much more intuitive than me about this stuff a lot of the time. So we all have a good dynamic. And I look forward to talking with you guys through the rest of October about these episodes of Tales from the Crypt. It has been a blast. It has been scarific, as I all too often like to say. And until mañana, when we get to talk about more bits of Tales from the Crypt, that's right, on the 11th of October, I extend an adios and a stay scared.